Hi, I'm Hennon Cummings with the Tarleton State University Aquaponics Hydrotron, and today we're going to be learning how the filtration for the fish system works. So there's a strainer that initially catches what comes off the bottom of the tank. So there'll be some fish scales and things like that in here. And then here's the pump, and it pumps it up to this screen right here, and this takes out the largest solids. They collect in here, and we backwash that to a prawn tank. Then the water comes up this way, and the flow is split in two different directions. Some of it goes to this biofilter that has lots of media in it that tumbles in big columns of bubbles, and it converts ammonia to nitrate and goes right back into the fish tanks. So we're always taking ammonia out of the system and aerating the system by the flow up through this pipe. Then another part of the flow, a reduced part, goes through this pipe and then goes over to something called the swirl filter. So this 240-gallon swirl filter, the water comes up about 3/4 up and is directed to go in a circle. And that makes the solids hit the side and fall out to the cone bottom. And then we can direct those solids over there to a compost fish feces barrel. In the center of that, where the water is slowing down, is where we draw off the top, except it's got to go under a collar and get back up so floating poo won't come down, and it falls down that pipe. And then it comes over and comes out this pipe. So this pipe is just that much lower than that pipe over there, so it's gravity fed. Then it falls through this screen, and this is our chance to catch fish eggs and any fish that might go to the rafts, which is important because our tilapia will eat the lettuce roots. And we'll clean this net twice a day. Then the solids have to go down, and then the water will come back up in order to get through this baffle, which goes almost to the bottom and splits this cylinder in half. Then it comes in the bottom of this tank, and more solids get caught on this netting there. That's a bird netting, and we've cleaned that bird netting to show how we're cleaning it. At the moment, the pipe is configured to send some solids this way because we don't want any to go to the rafts, and some solids are displaced during cleaning. And then it comes to the bottom of this tank, which is called a degassing tank, and we're just bubbling out any anaerobic degradation that could have happened that would have formed ammonia or hydrogen sulfide, which isn't very likely because we try to aerate the water as much as possible. Then by gravity, it'll go to the lettuce rafts, which is a biofilter. And then the most filtered water will go to a sump that will pump it back into the tank. So we've let this settle for about 15 minutes, not the whole 20 minutes we're going to, but we'll see some solids come out, and we'll fill up about 4 or 5 buckets until it starts running more clear. And we have a similar setup on the prawns, and we'll look at that another day. So I'm going to empty this, but first maybe I'll get some of these little Mexican scuds running on my hand. So they're big enough to eat organic waste, but not roots. We're going to learn more about that. But I'm going to just let some of these in this aquarium. We'll let some of them go in there that are on the outside of the net. And then the ones that are in the most of the net, we'll put in that bucket, and we'll get to them another time. And then I'll just clean my net off. and put it back in position to catch any fish that might be in the system. We don't want any fish or eggs going to the lettuce rafts because they'll eat the roots. So we've allowed time for the solids in here to settle down in this cylinder, and we're going to capture the solids from the bottom of this tank, and then we're going to let it sit overnight, and a semi-solid's going to form on top of the bucket, and then we're going to decant that into a composting bucket, add some sugar, and make it a potted plant fertilizer. So we don't get as many solids out of the clarifier as we do the mineralization tank. So this is about bucket and a half, and we're starting to see it run a little bit clearer. Whoops. When I stopped and started, it got dirty again. All right, we'll have to fill up some more buckets, it looks like. Clarifier's almost running clear, so we'll say this one's good. There are usually a lot more solids in here. Ready? Usually we fill up more buckets getting the solids out, the mineralization down. The flow is really slowing down in the mineralization tank. So we've drawn it almost all the way down, but I won't be able to drain it completely because it won't get lower than the height of this valve. So we're just going to let it get that low, but because the water never had a chance to run clear is why we stop flow, direct it back into the tank so we have a chance to pick those solids up again, because we don't want any solids going to the lettuce raft. All right, so we've gotten 9 buckets out of these 2 filters and 1 bucket out of the prawn tank. So we're going to line them up and let a semi-solid form on the top. A semi-solid's going to form because of CO2 champagne bubbles lifting the poop above and out of the water because of all the degradation that's happening now that it's been exposed to some oxygen. So let that frog form come on over here. So I'm going to pick up the solids and decant them into this barrel that's heavily aerated, add some sugar, let it settle again, pour the water into the swirl filter, and then pour the solids that settled in these buckets in here. So I'll take what floats and I'll take what settles and I'll put the middle in the swirl filter. It's on the mineralization eddy while we had time for it to settle. So it's about the height of the column, a little bit more, and this will be a lot of surface area to catch poop on. So it's overlapped a couple of times. So we'll put it back into the mineralization filter. Make sure it goes all the way down to the bottom. And then we're going to turn on the pump that directs water from the fish tank into here. And we'll have some solids coming out and we'll put them back in the tank. And then when I open this valve and water starts going to the rafts, we'll turn on the pump that takes water from that sump back into the fish tank. Because I don't want that pump to run dry, so I'm going to wait until water's flowing to it. The other thing that's going to happen is we're starting and stopping the swirl filter, and a lot of solids are going to come loose and get caught in this net. So starting and stopping the filters send solids from that filter someplace else. So that's another reason why we have this, because we don't want any solids going to the rafts. So I plug the pump back in, the biofilter's operating, I can hear water falling into the top of it, and it's coming back into the rafts. It'll be a while before this fills up, because the swirl filter first has to fill above its rim, and then this has to fill. And then we're going to run it for a while to send the solids back where the filter can pick it up, because we don't want any solids going to where the rafts are. Then we'll clean this net and we'll plug the pump back in that collects water coming from the rafts to a sump back into the tank. We don't want to do that now because we don't want that pump to run dry. The other thing that's going to help finalize this is we're going to get any solids that may have fallen and settled onto the sides of this, because they're a lot easier to clean when it's wet. So this is the poop solids, and they just don't really come off, but this is splashing from the bucket. So we just want to take every opportunity to clean up wet solids, because wet solids are so much easier to clean than when they've dried. So in the biofilter are some moving bed. It's a moving bed media. So we have a larger bioball and these smaller K2s and K6s and other sizes. The smaller the size, the more surface area that's in there, but they might not float real well, and you have to be purposeful about how you can exclude this from getting back into your system, but not a lot of solids that might clog it. So lots of aeration to keep them suspended so they don't settle out. One of the problems with a bioball like this is another one can lock with it and lock with it, and it can unfortunately clog a 2-inch pipe the way they can stack together like Legos.